Yep, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kita, and you are watching. Now, let's start this one over. Yep, we are back, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Kita, and you're watching Psychopath Exposure. Today, I'm going to be reading a comment that was left by Patricia not so long ago on a video I made a long time ago. I made a video on how narcissists prey on people with low self-esteem and no boundaries. I stand by that. I think that they don't only prey on those people, but they certainly prey on the majority of their victims are people with low self-esteem and either no boundaries or they just have a problem with boundaries, with establishing boundaries in their life, because it just has to be that way. Abusive people, it's just a good fit, right? When someone just has low self-esteem, it doesn't take much to manipulate them. It doesn't take much to establish dominance over someone that doesn't have any boundaries. It's easier to walk all over somebody when they don't have any boundaries. So I think it's fitting, and Patricia left a very nice comment, actually. She says, one of my favorite episodes, speaking my reality. My grandiose, narcissistic, alcoholic husband took himself out after 21 years of abuse towards our sons and I. First person I date after crying my eyes out, for 2 years is a covert, sad sack, vulnerable narcissist. I had no idea this narc stuff was a thing. Believe me, Patricia, nobody did a few years ago. Let alone variables on their traits. I got duped again. This time, only a year and a half and no babies. I am out. Thank you for YouTube and all the help out there regarding this inside out, upside down world of quicksand. I rewound this one, downloaded, and will circle back again to hear you when I think I'm going to waver. I love the way you present your material. You're easy on the eye. Speak from experience and throw in a few profane words. And I feel you. I am listening. I am learning. Thank you. No, thank you, Patricia. That was really kind of you. Yeah, nobody knew about this stuff when I started making content about this. When I went through this stuff, even less. Nobody would even whisper the name narcissist unless you were talking about someone that was vain and conceited. So it's just crazy how we've gotten to a point that even the biggest channels on YouTube, not the biggest channels on narcissist abuse on YouTube. No, the biggest channels that have no business talking about narcissists have like at least 10 channels on 10 videos on their channel about narcissists just for the algorithm and for the views. It's just crazy how this just keeps getting watered down and kind of like normalized, right? It's going to get to a point that when you throw around that term, no one's going to take you seriously anymore. I mean, I certainly don't. When I hear the term from people anymore, I'm like, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, you probably saw a video and you're just blaming your ex now and calling him names. But some of you, unfortunate, some of you actually went through a situation with a highly abusive, malignant, conniving, narcissistic predator. And I feel you because I know I walked those shoes and I've heard your stories. I work with survivors in the community. I have a coaching program. I work with survivors every day and have been for years. And before that, I was working with survivors of alcoholics and addicts and the whole deal. And it's not easy when you're living with somebody that's so unstable and so abusive because they cannot control their own feelings or emotions. Yeah, it's a shame. So thank you for that comment, Patricia. It's unfortunate how common it is for someone who was victimized by an abuser for so many years to finally get out of that relationship. I understand in your situation it ended kind of tragic, but you get out of that situation and you gravitate towards another abuser. And like you mentioned, this was a vulnerable narcissist. Vulnerable narcissist is another beautiful term in the glossary of narcissist personality disorder on YouTube. The vulnerable narcissist. I guess this is the one that makes themselves out to be like the woe is me, always a victim, feel bad for me. I went through this. Oh, my ex this, my ex that, and these people did me wrong. The world did me wrong. I'm such a good person. I'm an empath, and everybody hurts me and betrays me. And little do you know that they're a covert narcissist, meaning you wouldn't have spotted it a mile away. And they're sucking your life and your energy and draining you and bringing you down to their level. And then somehow shifting the focus and blaming you for the demise of the relationship when they didn't bring anything to the table in the first place because they were just complaining about how horrible their life is and how everyone did them wrong. So it's unfortunate that that's who you ended up getting with. Just glad you didn't have any babies, like you said. Congratulations for dodging that one. But yeah, that's how it goes. And there's a lot of reasons for that. We're going to talk about boundaries. We're going to talk about self-esteem. Okay? When your self-esteem is shot to the ground, which is what happens after an abusive relationship, it feels good when someone gives you attention. And you tend to fall in love with the wrong person. That's why a lot of people fall in love with their therapists, because the therapist is actually listening and they're actually helping you. And then they confuse that and they blur the lines and they think that, oh, we have a connection. This person actually can see inside my soul and actually understands me. And it's like, hey, they're doing that with all their other clients too and all their other patients. It's not what you think. Okay, I've made a video about that, how people fall in love with a waitress or the stripper and things like that. And it's like, dude, you're just a client. They're helping you. Their job is to make you happy. Their job is to render services well that you're paying for. They're not there to waste your time. They're not there to make you feel worse. They're not there to make you feel like you wasted your money. They're there to make sure they give you the results that you invested in. That's a great transaction in my opinion. But to blur the line and think that, this is your soulmate now, like, get out of here. Like, you obviously have a lot more work to do. So be careful with those people. Be careful with those vulnerable narcissists. Be careful with those people that are so broken and they confuse love. They see you as their savior and they fall in love, and it's like, no, don't do that. That's just not going to end well because it's usually not reciprocated. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but that's what happens. You have no self-esteem. If you have self-esteem, you'd be able to have that inner monologue that'll tell you, hey, this person's really cool and they're helping you and you're paying them and whatever. And yeah, there's always a chance that they might like you. There's always a chance in this world, right? But don't you feel like a little embarrassed to confuse the waitress as bringing you your drinks, and just because she flirts with you a little bit because she wants a tip, don't you feel a little stupid assuming that she likes you? So that's what happens, and you just got no boundaries. So you meet someone and you're like, well, I have nobody. My ex was a psychopathic maniac, alcoholic, raging narcissist, and I have nobody. So now I'm dating this person. This person actually is coping with my baggage, is coping with my trauma. It's the only thing I have. They're not half bad looking. And they were there when nobody else was, and I cried in their shoulder, and they got me, and they have trauma too, and we have a connection, and then they start crossing your boundaries, or whatever boundaries you have or think you have. They start overstepping, and you accept it, because the truth is you don't have boundaries. Those things that you thought they were crossing, those things that we just labeled boundaries, you didn't even have those. That was an illusion. They weren't even there. You're just walking all over you, and you put up with it, and you put up with it, and you think, well, it can't be as bad as my ex. It can't be as bad as my ex-wife. It can't be as bad as my sexless marriage that I had before. It can't be as bad as that son of a bitch that was abusive, yes, it can. And it can be worse, because you're coming into this thing with so much history, with so much baggage, with so much unresolved, unprocessed trauma, that you get into a new situation and it's 50 times worse. Maybe on paper it's not, but it's 50 times worse. I remember I went through something after the psychopath in my life, something that shouldn't have been such a big deal, and it ended up feeling worse. And it's like, how could this be? Like, this cannot possibly be worse. And it's not that it was worse in the sense that it doesn't get worse than dating the devil. It doesn't get worse than dating the devil or Satan's daughter, right? But because you dated Satan's daughter, and then you get into another unstable situation, and there's infidelity, and there's cheating and betrayal and domestic violence and yelling and affairs and ghosting and whatever thing you want to put in there. Your brain is like, oh no, that's exactly that reminds me of that thing I went through, which was hell. This is the same thing. The same thing is happening. Oh no. And it makes a Goliath out of a situation. And that's not to dismiss the situation in and of itself. They're horrible. Whatever we're going through at the time is pretty horrible at that particular moment. Then we start comparing and we realize, yeah, it's better or it's worse. But at that moment, it's the worst thing that you're going through. That's why we should never diminish anyone that's going through something, because that may be the worst feeling, the worst thing they've ever experienced up until that point. And you don't know what someone else is feeling. So, but I digress. This is why abusers continue to abuse, because somehow they also attract someone that has low self-esteem or someone that doesn't have boundaries. They also attract. I always say a victim needs a shooter needs a victim. So when you get out of these situations, do not be surprised if the very next person you date, especially if you didn't heal, if you didn't do the work that I talk about in this channel, if you didn't do that work for a good year or two, you're probably going to you're probably going to step on another landmine. And then you're going to be wondering, what the heck just happened? How did this happen to me again? I assure you of that. I assure you of that. So don't go stepping on any more landmines, ladies and gentlemen. Click the link below in the description. Reach out so we can work together on my coaching program, because life is short. You guys know how short life is. It could be taken from you in a split second. Okay? Stop wasting time. If you know, if you're navigating through a landmine, like through a minefield right now, and you're walking on eggshells with your partner, and you think that they might be a narcissist, just like your ex, or this is a second, third narcissist you've dated, or this is some raging alcoholic, and you know something's not right, reach out to me, because there's something there. There's something there that's not letting you move forward, or it's not letting you see clearly, and you need someone on your corner to call you out for what it is and to assure you, hey, I've been there. This thousands of people have been there. Hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people have been there. Okay? I would say half the population, if not more, have been there. All right? There's people right now that are in highly toxic, highly abusive relationships, and they can't get out, and they don't know any better, and it's draining them, and they don't know any better. All right? So if that sounds like you, I urge you to reach out today to see if we're a good fit for each other, and we can start working on processing all this trauma and all these blockages that you have, that the narcissist has created, these fears that, man, when you start talking about these fears, you realize these things don't even exist. What the heck am I doing? So I'll leave you with that, guys. I hope you learned something today. And Patricia, thanks again for that comment. I'm glad you're out. Update us, on your next venture. How did that end? How did you call it out? Like, what happened? I'm sure it's going to help a lot of people in the community if you share your experience, your strength and hope in the comments below. So do that. And before you go, guys, be sure you check out this video I just made on, I'm going to call them deranged and obsessive people that just get really, really obsessed with other people, like stalkers, for instance. If you guys have been through a situation before where you got someone that's just so psychotically, manically obsessed with you to the point of stalking, you got to watch this video right here. Okay, you got to watch this video right here, because this can be so dangerous. You have no idea how crazy and how dangerous these people get and these situations become. All right, check that out. Let me know what you think in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one. Be good.